Hi, this is 100 and 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Today we are looking at Seeking Dawn VR. Seeking Dawn VR is an exclusively VR title that was built from the ground up for virtual reality. This game is definitely one of the more intense games, and it has a very rich storyline that you get to jump into as one of the main characters. We're excited to review it for you today. Our VR Gear game reviews cover as many aspects of the game as possible so that you can make an informed decision before you try or buy one of these VR titles. Seeking Dawn VR is a really great game, and we want to talk to you about it right now. And let's start out with getting up and running with Seeking Dawn. You can find Seeking Dawn in the Steam Store, the Oculus Store, and as part of the Viveport Infinity subscription. But it is not, however, on the PSVR store, so you won't be able to find it there. This game is selling for $29.99 across all these different stores, and the download file is 16 gigabytes, which is going to take a good amount of time on a slower internet connection, but hang in there. The game is extremely great, and it's worth the wait. Once the game is done installing and you jump into the main menu, you have the opportunity to walk through a tutorial that will show you how to use your weapons, as well as access your items in your inventory and exchange which parts of your uniform or your armor these inventory items will show up so that you can quickly get access to them during gameplay. After completing the tutorial phase, you can jump right into gameplay and shoot those aliens and get those slimy alien guts all over yourself as you're trying to avoid death and achieve the objective in front of you. This game is definitely a first-person shooter adventure game that has a rich storyline that you get to be a part of. There are quests and puzzles, and there's a bunch of bad guys that you need to shoot. Well, they're more like bad aliens that are shaped like things you've never seen before, with guts that are as gross as you can imagine, and with sound effects to accompany it that will just make your skin crawl. This game is intense for sure, but it is one of the better first-person shooter titles out there. You'll play this game from the first-person perspective, which means you'll be able to look at your hands and your inventory items that are on your wrist, as well as a heads-up display that you will be looking through to see the entire world around you. You do see the elements that are accompanying your heads-up display, which are part of the face mask on your helmet. At first, I thought these would be distracting, but they actually blend into the background pretty well, and they don't detract from what you're able to see in the game, except for when you're looking at things that are close to you or that are below you. The game has a hard time displaying those things, and I'm not sure if it was because the heads-up display included those things or because the game just didn't account for people looking down. At any rate, the game makes up for that by allowing you to reach out and grab things at a distance with a certain gesture in the controls. The theme of this game is all about alien fighting, as well as some sort of governmental overthrow that you really don't participate in because you're too busy firing at whatever gory looking alien creature that's trying to bite your head off. That's what you'll actually experience, even though during the opening credits of the game, some sort of dialogue is shared with you about why you're fighting, why you're on the planet, what kind of mysterious object you need to go recover. But at the end of the day, when you're in gameplay, all you care about is not dying. Your character is not given very many resources, and you can collect resources along the way to create or craft new resources or equipment that will enable you to have a greater fighting power as you move through the game. Not too dissimilar from No Man's Sky in the way that you collect minerals, craft new resources or tools, and then create different objects that you can then leverage as you complete additional quests. This game, however, is a little bit narrower in scope, and it has a more pointed outcome for each one of the levels that you're pursuing. As a result, you are one of the main characters in the storyline, but you are detached from whatever government overthrow is going on. You're just a pawn in the army, but a more central pawn than others because the spaceship commander is telling you where to go and what to do. At the end of the day, your job is to fight aliens and achieve whatever objective is spoken to you in your earpiece. And there are a lot of aliens, and they are hard to kill, and they are gross. They are just nasty. And when you jump into the game, you'll see what I'm talking about. The controls of this game have a lot going on, and there's a lot of things during the tutorial that helps you set up your player movement. It shows you where you can get access to items in your inventory, as well as firing a weapon and reloading it. The game did explicitly say that the index controllers were supported, and we were able to see them in our heads-up display as we saw the controller the game recognized. But as we were going through the tutorial and selecting our movement method, we started to see some issues with the controllers responding to our input. This also happened when we tried to feed ourselves the rations that were given to us at the beginning, which happened to be a cheeseburger. At the end of the day, the controls were communicated to us properly. We tried to use them as instructed, but the game wasn't responsive to our input. That became frustrating as we tried to revive our health by eating the cheeseburger that we were given as part of our rations. And it is very vital that you eat in this game, which was sort of annoying. I don't know why we had to keep eating food. Our character kept complaining that they were hungry, and if we did not feed him, he would then reduce his walking speed, which meant he would fight slower and he would move through the game slower, and we would keep scratching our heads as to why we couldn't feed him the cheeseburger that was clearly in our left hand. The game had no problem eating raw meat, strange, but we couldn't eat the cheeseburger, and our player's health got weaker and weaker until we couldn't really do much when we were fighting off aliens. Our character would die pretty quick. For music and sound, this game is very rich with ambient noise as well as sound effects from each one of the animals that you encounter. There are plants that are constantly moving that you can hear as you walk by, and there are animals with all the unique sounds that come along with them. There are flying animals, crawling animals, creeping animals, and animals that explode when you shoot them. All of them are accompanied with some really rich audio that added a lot to the environment. You will hear an increase in intensity in the music as you approach characters that you are supposed to fight. As you walk through caves and different rocky areas, there are animals that are sitting on the rocks, but they are not dangerous. The game lets you know what is dangerous and what needs to be fought by adding some intense music tracks to get you to be more alert, pull out your weapon, and start firing. The music and sound of this game really did help add to the experience, and it made it a lot more immersive. The developers did a great job with the music and sound in this one. For player movement, you were given a lot of different options during the tutorial phase to pick your movement method, and that is fantastic, especially if you have one preference over another. There are options for you if you're really comfortable in VR and you don't get motion sick easily to have constant movement instead of teleporting or rotating by degrees. We didn't pick smooth rotation or constant movement. We picked teleportation and movement by degrees. That reduces motion sickness, and we don't like getting motion sick. We do a lot of VR, and if we get motion sick, it puts us out. So we picked teleportation and rotation by degrees. There was an additional movement method that was really awesome to see, and that was called blink. The way this one works was you could project yourself forward and you would see a silhouette of yourself walking forward, and once you released the controller, you would appear where your silhouette stopped walking. Pretty novel idea. We tried it a couple times, but the problem with it was the controls weren't responsive. It would keep switching between teleporting and blink, which was unfortunate because I thought blink was a really great way to move around, but it just kept defaulting me to teleporting. But it was awesome the game developers created this additional method of moving, and we'd love to see more of that in other VR titles. For motion sickness, this game isn't going to make you any more motion sick than any of the other games that incorporate the teleportation movement method. One of the big benefits that this game brings to the table is that when you are in the heat of battle, you really aren't moving around much at all. A lot of the action happens in front of you. You're not going to find the bad guys sneaking behind you, requiring you to turn around. You really just need to kill what's in front of you, and you should be good to go. And this means that you won't be teleporting quickly during the heat of battle, and slower teleportation or less frequent teleportation really adds to the minimizing of motion sickness, which everyone loves to not be motion sick. So the game developers really thought this through well. The motion sickness in this game has been reduced to reasonable levels, and it doesn't encourage you to teleport around quickly in response to heat of battle. All of this adds up to a reduction in motion sickness, even though the game has a high potential for it. The game developers helped keep the lid on that so that you don't become too sick playing the game. The environment of this game was incredibly well done. It is very creepy, it is very detailed, the sounds are very rich. There are so many different plants and animals and different topography, and you go inside of caves and you see rock formations and you see floating jellyfish. There's just a lot of stuff going on visually in this game. The audio in this game, there's a lot going on there, and the quests that you're on are just really engaging. The environment and immersion of this game is top notch, and it is right on par with some of the better games that are out there, some of the best games that are out there. And we thought Seeking Dawn did an absolutely amazing job at creating an environment that was incredibly immersive and ultra engaging, that really creeped us out, it scared us, it made us want to stay, it made us want to leave, it just made us feel everything that you would expect from a game that is designed to really be immersive the way that this one is. Okay, let's look at the overall scorecard for Seeking Dawn VR, starting with story and theme. We are giving this game an 8 out of 10 for story and theme. This game is very good. It has a very engaging story. The theme is incredibly powerful, and the game developers did a great job with implementation. This game is well deserving of an 8 out of 10 for story and theme. For controls, we're giving this game a 6 out of 10. And that score is above average, but there's a lot of corrections that need to take place. And maybe it's because of the bindings with the valve index, or maybe there's some things in the code that prevent the controls from being responsive, but there are some issues with controlling movement. There's issues with controlling your inventory when it's used in one of your hands, like the hamburger example we gave earlier. A 6 out of 10 with hopefully room to improve for the developers on this one. For music and sound, this game did a great job. We're giving it a 7 out of 10 for music and sound. We really enjoyed being in this game. The audio added a lot to the immersion that we felt, and a 7 out of 10 is a well-deserving score for this one. For player movement, we're giving this game an 8 out of 10. There was a lot of different ways to move, and we were really excited about the new movement method, Blink. 8 out of 10 for player movement, because this game did a really great job implementing your normal teleportation in addition to your rotation, and in addition to a new movement method called Blink, which we thought was fantastic. So 8 out of 10 for player movement. For motion sickness, we're giving this game a 7 out of 10, and that's a really high score for a game that has such a high potential for motion sickness. But this score is very deserving because of the mitigating factors the developer put in place, such as your action is all happening in front of you, you aren't likely to move around quickly in the heat of battle, and the new Blink movement method is also a great contributor to reducing motion sickness in this game. This game is very deserving of a 7 out of 10 for motion sickness. And finally, environment and immersion. This game is getting a perfect score of a 10 out of 10. And this is a very rare score to give, and we are happy to give it to this title. The environment was incredibly rich. The creatures were unique and captivating. The audio was immersive, and the gameplay was very engaging. We were very impressed with the environment of this game. We wanted to stay in it, but it also terrified us all at the same time. We really enjoyed Seeking Dawn's environment and immersion. For the overall score for Seeking Dawn VR, we're giving it a 7.6 out of 10. That is a really great score. It's among the best scores we've given, and we really think this one is a game you should go out and give it a try. You can find it on the Steam store as part of the Viveport Infinity subscription, or on the Oculus store. This has been 100 and 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that you can receive a notification tomorrow when we release another VR review. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.